Our friend Dennis Michael Lynch, filmmaker extraordinaire. Go to his website, dmldaily.com. Follow him on Twitter. Become his pal like we have. You'll learn a lot from him. Dennis, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you? Sorry I can't be there in the studio. I was anticipating a spitball fight. But,
that's where we came up with the title for the book, Too Late to Leave Decatur, or in your case, it might make for a good suspenseful film.
You know what happened? I'm actually producing my fourth and final film, and we have a big scene on Amtrak. So I decided to take Amtrak to Chicago from New York, and the thing was 4 hours late getting in because we got stuck behind a freight train. And so by the time I got here last night, I was like, there's no way I could get up to 5:30 in the morning to be at Rockford by 9. So we've been anticipating this for a couple months, so I'm really sorry I couldn't make it in there. But
we'll find another time to hang out.
Next time, definitely.
Before we get into what you've been up to, make sure people know how to see you tonight. You're going to be in Wheaton, which is not that far of a drive for people into the Chicago suburbs. What's the detail on tonight's event?
Yeah, tonight I'm going to be at the Wheaton Bowl Banquet Center. It's in Wheaton, Illinois. If you go to theycometoamerica.com and you click on the tour tab, you'll get the information there. I mean, there will be 300 people there, I'm sure, maybe more. I packed out the room last year. Last night here in Decatur, there was a great deal more people this year than I had last year. So the momentum's growing. I hope they come. I mean, I speak about the border, obviously, but I speak a lot about the other problems facing America, including ISIS, how to handle that, how I would handle that. And people are treating me like gold here in Illinois, and I'm blown away by it. I can't say enough. You know, thank you so much, Illinois, and those guys like you. I mean, how many times now I've been on your radio show?
A ton of times, and we look forward to it every single time, on and off the air. We always enjoy chatting with you before and after we go on. You know, you're just one of those guests who definitely brings it. And I got to ask you about this, since it's on your site. Ask to run in 2016. Now, I'm guessing this isn't marathons or triathlons.
You know, Larry, it's funny how this is. It's funny how this is sort of developed. It's almost like it happened for Ben Carson. It just hasn't gotten the press that Ben Carson has received with people asking him to run for president. But last year, on my Facebook page, which is Facebook DML Daily, I answer people. I mean, we get thousands of messages all the time, and I answer people, and I answer them on the site. And somebody said, "Wouldn't it be nice if the president was to actually answer us?" And then somebody wrote DML 2016 after that. And that was like sort of the spark. And then periodically, people would say it to me, or I'd be on television and I would say something, and after they saw me on maybe the Kelly File, somebody would come up and say, "We want you to run." It has now become such a thing, guys, where even last night, every place I go, everybody stands up and asks, "Will you please run? Will you please run?" I got it. I was on C-SPAN about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Caller called in, same thing, asked me live on air. And so then they made this article. You saw that their townhall.com is doing a whole series on my tour and about how people are asking me at every stop if I would run. I'm honored by it. I think it has a little bit to do with the fact that I have a business background and I address these problems in a way that I think people like. I don't know, guys. I mean, it's
well,
what am I supposed to say? You know what? I love the job. I think I can get things done, but it's...
You don't want to take the pay cut.
The pay cut? So I will tell you something. You don't make a lot of money traveling the country and giving away free DVDs, guys.
That's probably true.
That is Mike.
I took the pay cut a long time ago.
Dennis Michael Lynch with us. DMLdaily.com is his website. But look, you just said it's going to be your final film, which I don't think we knew previously. And
I hate to hear that.
Last time we saw you in D.C., you mentioned to us, and certainly with the 2016 talk now, it's okay to probably say you were thinking about actually doing a political thing and perhaps being involved in the debate in Washington. If not president, I mean, would you think about a congressional run? That's a place where you could have an impact too.
You know what, guys? Honestly, this is my last film for a couple of different reasons. Some of it you might like, some of it you won't, and I'm sorry if I disappoint anybody. But look, I didn't get into filmmaking because I wanted to be a movie star. I didn't want to get into filmmaking because I thought it'd make me rich. I wanted to make a difference. And, at the end of the day, I think I've opened a lot of eyes about the border, and this new film that, I've been touting around, We Ride to D.C., is a lot about the mainstream media. I don't think anybody makes these films like I make them, and I'm proud of them. But at the end of the day, I didn't stop the surge that took place in Texas. I didn't stop ISIS from getting to Juarez, Mexico, and coming over the border. So I'm only doing so much with the talents that I've got. And so I don't see my filmmaking doing enough to help the country go in the direction that it needs to go into. That said, I'm making one more film that covers the biggest problems in America, how it is that I would go about solving them, or how somebody else should go about solving them, how we need to go about solving them. And I'm actually going to put this one in movie theaters because I think it needs to be seen far and wide. It needs to get that big press that you only get if you're in a movie theater. I don't know why it is that that's the way the media handles things. It's like, if Dinesh D'Souza puts a film in there, it's going to get a lot of play on TV because it's in theaters. I put a film out there and I say, I'm going to give you free DVDs. It's like, okay, we'll put Dennis on maybe. So that's one reason why I'm going to the theaters. And if you look at the other aspect of it, if I don't run for an office, and I won't run for Congress. I don't want a life in Congress. I really don't. I've met a lot of congressmen when I'm on Fox, and I had one guy tell me, don't you ever dare run for being a representative. 80% of your time is spent raising money. So waste your time. Go for something bigger. Go for something higher. And because I live in New York, I would never get a Senate seat, and I don't think I'd ever get a governor seat. So that being said, the reason why I got to jump out of the films is because if I don't run for some sort of office, I really got to go back into business. Because I think the way the world is running and the way the country is going is if you don't have a ton of money, you are going to be in you're going to be in a bad way. I mean, if Hillary is elected president, either you have money or you have nothing. I hate to say that, and a lot of people are probably shaking their head, yeah. So I can't leave my kids squandering, so to say. I got to go back and start making a lot of money to protect my children. That's how afraid I am for the future of this country if we don't change its leadership.
And speaking of the future, there's nobody I can think of, and if you gave me a bunch of time to think about it, I still wouldn't be able to come up with anybody who knows more about what's going on down on the border than you do. Now, all this ISIS talk, we've seen video examples of just how serious they are. How worried should we be that, they're making the foray into Texas?
You guys know me well. I'm not going to BS you, and I'm not going to try to scare anybody for the sake of, glorifying a story. You should be frightened. You should be beyond frightened. Look, what takes down at the border affects every aspect of our life here in America. Health, schools. I mean, look what's happening in schools right now. I mean, my school alone, where my daughter goes, we used to have 25% Latino. We now have 51%, and I'm not picking on Latino. I'm talking about Latinos who don't speak English. So, they're all coming across the border. They're coming into schools. We can't sustain that as a district. So, and I know that's happening across the country. When you look now at the border being open and the lax attitude of President Obama, ISIS is the best, well-funded terror group that we've ever seen. And here's what nobody else is speaking about. When you look at business, a lot of times you see a fragmented industry. Somebody goes in and they start buying up the little guys to make themselves a much bigger guy. That's what's going to happen here. Sorry, guys. ISIS has shown they have figured out the magic sauce. They're getting the world's attention faster and more furiously than anybody else. And so Hamas and Hezbollah and all these other terror networks who are all trying to make a name for themselves and trying to figure out how it is that they can really wipe out Israel. How can they really wipe out America? How can they spread the Islamic extremist attitude throughout the world? You're going to watch it. It's like a business roll-up. ISIS is going to start rolling up other terror networks within it. And it's going to go from 10,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 people very quickly. And the problem with ISIS is that the face of terror is no longer just the Middle Eastern guy who's 23 years old. We've got people from Britain. We've got people from America being part of ISIS. And that is going to grow. That is why America needs to take out this cancer immediately.
Dennis Michael Lynch with us, DMLDaily.com. Films, commentary, videos, and more up at DMLDaily.com. You mentioned earlier that you felt a little frustrated, I think. You weren't successful with stopping the youths and the teens from crossing the border. You haven't been able to stop ISIS, perhaps, from crossing the border. But the conversation about immigration reform has changed since your videos, since other videos of what's happening on the border. The president even sounds like he might be pushing back executive action, if he ever takes it, to pass the election because it would be so unpopular and would hurt Democrats running for Senate. in Congress. In that way, have you been somewhat successful in changing the conversation about potential amnesty, potential executive action, do you think?
Yeah, yes, and I say that with all humility. I mean, I know They Come to America 1 and They Come to America 2 has played a great role in stopping that Senate bill last year from going into the House. People called up their representative and said, "Don't you dare even vote on this thing. I've seen this film and I know what's really going on." So yes, my films have played an impact in that. But I'm the kind of guy. I'm not looking to make a little splash. I want to be a tsunami. This country needs a tsunami because we are so upside down. It's unbelievable. Now, I'll be the first one to say this. I hope President Obama is not listening. If he really wanted to have an impact, if he really wanted to win that election, he made a mistake. He should have made an amnesty before the election, because that amnesty, if amnesty goes through, it is going to take the wind out of the sails of so many people. I think people wouldn't have gone to vote. I think he would have gotten back. He's going to lose his Senate. He's going to lose it no matter what he delays and pushes. I'm telling you, conservatives wouldn't have showed up. I know this. I've polled this. People said, if there's an amnesty, I'm done. I'm not, and if there's any GOP rep who even talks about a little bit of legalization, I'm done. When you hear these polls of people saying, yeah, we're up for some sort of legalization, some sort of amnesty, I have to ask, who are they polling? I have never, ever, ever met a person who says, yeah, let's give amnesty. Never.
Dennis, talking about people who get it, who kind of understand, Senator Jeff Sessions has been so good on immigration in the U.S. Senate, both his speeches and his work against some of these amnesty bills. Have you reached out to him? Has he reached out to you at all?
No, if you look at it, you got Jeff Sessions and you got Steve King. They've really been the two guys who have been brave and bold when it comes to this particular topic. I know Steve very well. Congressman King, in fact, Congressman King is in my new movie, We Ride to D.C. Sessions I have not, but I'm very impressed with the way that he holds his ground. Look, you want to solve this problem? I solve this problem in a day. I say it all the time. Here's how it goes, real quick. Number one, you have to fight fire with fire. So the employers who hire these people need to be fined severely. And if they do it a second time, well, then you start prosecuting them and you start putting a couple of them in jail. And suddenly you'll see the hiring of illegal aliens stop. Number two is you have to start deporting all the people who are coming in here now, and then you start deporting the other people who've been here for a while. Not in the hundreds, not in the thousands, but in the tens of thousands and eventually the hundreds of thousands. The message has to go home. You do it humanely. But at the end of the day, you cannot reward people with a job and then potentially citizenship because they broke our laws. And so once that message starts getting out down to the countries where people are coming from, it will slow down. Now, you'll still have the people who will try to come across. And remember, they're paying $10,000 to a smuggler. So if they come across, they pay the $10,000 and they get deported right away. That message is huge. They'll stop going because you just lost your $10,000 and you took a 30-day travel through Mexico, and you're going to stop. Once we do those things right there, this problem will stop, and then we can get our Border Patrol and our National Guardsmen back to defending the border against threats like ISIS. Until that happens, whenever you hear any person, I don't care how prominent they are, when they say we need to secure the borders, they're only talking about a small piece of the pie, and you can't secure the borders just by putting people on the border. You have to stop the incentive for people to come.
And you obviously are one of those who are not buying into, and we hear a lot of people say this, oh, deportation, that ship has sailed. There's no way we can go about that.
Oh, baloney. We talked about in the beginning, about President Lynch. I would start that process immediately. I wouldn't need a pen. I wouldn't need a phone. I would just start enforcing the laws that are already in the books. That's all you have to do. And we would start deporting those people. It will cost less money to deport these people than to have them in our system as they are in our system right now. I mean, look, just to educate one of these children that came across in the state of New York is anywhere between $16,000 to $22,000 a year if these kids don't speak English. I can tell you the deportation of that same child or that same adult or that same teenager is not $20,000. And that's just the cost of educating that person. That you hear these people say, oh, we can never deport them, you're never going to round them up. You don't need to round them up. You cut off that job magnet. You stop giving them the ability to go out and get certain programs. You stop welcoming them like the governor of California, and even your own. I don't know what happened to Illinois. I meet you folks. You guys are so cool. You're so nice. You're so patriotic. You know what? How do you vote in some of these people?
It's a lot of Chicago, Dennis.
Yeah, and we don't.
I mean, so people are welcoming these people in. The more you do that, the more they'll stay. And the longer we let them get intertwined with, with America, if you will, it makes it harder to make them go home. But ultimately, look, this is not I'll start with the Irish people. This is not about race. It's not about ethnicities. It's not about color. It's about the rule of law. It's about the fact that the foundation of America is the Constitution and the rule of law. That's the thing that separates us from the rest of the world. There are other countries that have freedom. We're not the only country that has freedom, but we have a Constitution. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are so frustrated with Obama and his whole administration, is they just don't follow the law. And that's the chaos that's what we see. He's turning a blind eye to the rule of law.
He's Dennis Michael Lynch. You can see why we're fans. You should become one quickly if you're not already. DMLdaily.com. Follow him on Twitter. Get to know the things that he has written about, and by all means, see the films. Dennis, good luck on the tour. The folks in Wheaton are in for a treat tonight. I wish we were there.
I wish you were, too. It's great talking to you, and I hope to meet up with you guys again.